I am back today. Do you like my new background? I'm trying to be a beauty blogger. Not really. But I just figured instead of sitting you on my windowsill and having like a kind of shoddy background that I would actually make it look a little bit more presentable. So hopefully these videos from now on will look a little bit more professional because yeah, I don't want to look like an imposter. So today I am going to be doing a kind of more informative video again. Like I said, I kind of alternate between weekly vlogs and then these more informative posts. Whether these videos are about blogging tips, kind of SEO tips, which I think is going to be my next installment, search engine optimization, which basically just means like how much Google favors your blog slash website in terms of searches and things like that. So if anybody has any questions they'd like me to answer about that, that goes for the people that are watching this on my WordPress blog as well. Just leave me an answer in the YouTube comments or the WordPress comments and I'll answer anything that's asked, plus questions I had when I was starting out and questions I still have today that I still have to research. So I'm going to try and breathe because I always do that and then I forget to breathe because I try and say everything in the one sentence and I feel like I just sound like such a breathy idiot, so I'm going to try and relax and actually speak some sense today. So, I have this idea of talking about the kind of different currencies in East Asia and Southeast Asia, as well as in Europe. Now, obviously, the majority of Europe uses the euro, but kind of once you go east of Poland, up to Scandinavia, down to Eastern Europe, they all use different currencies, so that will be the next installment after I film this one. But today I'm going to focus on East Asia. I think it's important because I never really understood the different types of currencies and things like that, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially for people that aren't good with numbers. I mean, like when I was at school, I'm like quick at maths, I'm quick at multiplication, but some of these currencies you're multiplying the pound by 18,000, you're multiplying it by 11,000, you're multiplying it by 5.6. Like it's very, very confusing. So the whole point of this video is just to kind of break down the different currencies for each country, and then that'll be the kind of first part. I can go a little bit into talking about prices of things in each of the respective countries as I go through their currencies. I will then talk about my kind of argument for the do you take cash, do you take card, do you take a prepaid travel card, and all the kind of benefits and drawbacks with all three of those options. And then finally, I'm going to talk about my recommendations for prepaid travel cards if that's something you're choosing to do. So obviously I'm based in the UK, I'm from Scotland, so I'll be referring to everything in this video in relation to the Great British Pound, but obviously anything's a Google search away if you're curious about any different currencies and what it is in relation to whether it be the Canadian dollar, the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar. Just search and you can get an easy transfer. But other than that, kind of all the same things that I'm going to talk about in this video will apply, like kind of how much to take cash versus on your card, what currencies are good to buy in advance and things like that. So without further ado, I'm just going to start talking. I'm not sure if you've seen the last video of this kind of style, this more kind of talking to kind of, I'm trying to be informative, I hope I'm helping at least someone. The last installment I put on my channel to do with this, I don't really know how to put the I, you know, like the little thing where it links to another video, but I'll try and put it somewhere. I was talking about all the same countries I'm going to be talking about today with relation to their visas, the process, and the different currencies you need to pay for the visas in. I think I'll link that either in an I or in the description box because I do really think it helps you plan what kind of currencies you have to take beforehand and just helps with things like budgeting. So if you're interested in looking at that, go have a look after you watch this video. I'm so good at this, can you tell? I'm such a professional. The reason I bring up that video is because I'm going to try and do it in the same style, and what I mean by that is I'm going to try my best. Even if I do it wrong while I'm filming it, I'll try and edit it so that it comes in a kind of not chronological but a geographical order. I'm going to try and start in Northeast Asia and kind of work my way down the kind of more south, the more Central East Asia, and then end in the islands, the Philippines and Indonesia. So bear with me if I get mixed up, I do apologise, and I'll just like write everything down here so that if you can't understand my accent or if I'm going too fast or even if you just want to pause things, I'll do the kind of the conversion rate Bear in mind that it's the middle of June 2019 right now, so obviously if you're watching this at some point in the future, the exchange rate might have changed. In my personal experience, from the first year I went to Asia to the second year, the place we repeated to travel to, were the places I should say, were Indonesia and Malaysia, and both currencies were affected like really quite significantly because it was the summer directly after the Brexit vote happened. So I think the first year we went, the Indonesian rupiah was maybe 24,000 rupiahs to the pound, whereas when we went the second year it was down to like 21, 22, which doesn't seem like a lot, but we spent 5 weeks in Bali, that in Lombok that time, so over the course of 5 weeks, obviously it really quite severely impacted our budget. And in Malaysia, thankfully, we only spent 2 days there, but I think the first year we went, it was around 6 ringgit to the pound, and the second year it was down to 5. So it's went up a little bit, but just bear in mind if you're watching this at another time, then obviously the currencies will change, especially with the current political climate going on in the UK right now. So I'm going to start with South Korea, my future home. I am actually moving. A little bit of a side note, like, I like to talk, okay? I'm a Scottish woman, I like to go off in tangents. I'm moving in around 8 weeks. If you haven't read anything or heard anything about it, I put a vlog up, should I say, a couple of weeks ago, explaining why I'm moving, how long I'm moving for, and where in Korea I'm moving to, so you can go back and watch that. Again, I'll leave the link below in the description, but I'm going to start with South Korea. So, the South Korean currency is the Korean won, and that's around 1,500 to the pound. Moving over to Japan, that's the Japanese yen, and that's around 137 yen to the pound. Then when you go down to China, it's yuan. I'm really not sure if I'm butchering how to say that. It's yuan, and it's roughly 880 to the pound. Say 9. I'll try for the sake of this video to kind of round it to the nearest 25 like cents equivalent in their currency, or I'll just round it to the pound if it's easier, so just say 9 to the pound there. When you go down to Vietnam, that they deal in dong, so it's 30,000. I'm laughing, I can't help it. I'm a 12-year-old boy, like, in my mind. I can't help it. So their currency is the Vietnamese dong. It's around 30,000, so this is where it kind of starts to get a little bit confusing. Cambodia have their own currency, the riel, but in my personal experience in Cambodia, everything was handled in US dollars. And when we proceed with this video, I'll go on to talk about the kind of value of having US dollars on your person in Southeast Asia in particular. But the only time I actually physically was given a riel or kind of anything was priced in riel was we were at a gas station and we got some snacks, and the change was maybe like 25 cents, and I got it in the riel equivalent, but it's something crazy like 0.000018 or something to the pounds. Yeah, that is £1, so the exchange rate's a little bit off. So yeah, if you're going to Cambodia, I would really consider just taking US dollars. We paid tuk-tuk drivers in dollars. When we went out for dinners, we paid for in dollars and cents. We paid our hotel in dollars. We paid at the actual Cambodian border. We paid that, I think it was $30 or $35. So yeah, US dollars for there. Over from Cambodia, if you go into Laos, they deal in kip, and the kip is 11,000 to the pound. Then you go across to Myanmar, and that is kyat, Kyat, and that's around 2,000 to the pound. Malaysia, like I said earlier, is ringgit, and that's down to about 525 right now to the pound, so it has improved in the last couple of years. Thailand is baht, that's around 42. I would just say 40 just for multiplication's sake. And again, Thailand, the first year I went, it was 50, 52, 53 to the pound. And I went last year and it was roughly the same as it is this year, so it hasn't been that significantly affected in the last year. Okay, where have I missed? Hong Kong have their Hong Kong dollar, that's around $10 to the pound. Singapore have their own dollar, that's around 175 to the pound. That's taken a little bit of a beating. The last time I was there it was 2 to the pound, so that's went down quite a bit. Then Indonesia, like I say, is the rupiah, that's down to about 18,000 to the pound. And then finally is the Philippines, and they deal in pesos, and that's around 65 to the pound. and I think I have mentioned every country in East Asia. So, like I said earlier, every single country has a different currency. So if you are, I was reading it, could you tell I was reading it? I was reading it off my laptop because although my memory is pretty good, and I did film this video already yesterday, but I filmed it the other way to improve the video quality and didn't realise that there was a big dirty mark on my lens, so I had to delete all the footage and film it again. What am I like? So, I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm like, I always say this, I feel like I'm... Anyway, let me keep talking instead of babbling. So, if you're going to go to more than one country, obviously it can get a little bit more complex with kind of, do I take money in advance? Do I just use my bank card when I'm there? How do I convert? What's the best currency to go with? So my personal advice, let's just start with, if you're going and you're taking currency, so if you're from the UK and you are intending on taking British pounds over to convert into the respective currencies, it has to be English notes, whether it be a £10 note or a £20 note. But obviously I'm Scottish. I went last year, I had I think 4 or 5 £20 notes from the Bank of Scotland. Not a single like travel agent currency exchange would accept it, so I had £100 cash that I couldn't spend basically. So just be mindful if you're going, just any bank will convert your notes from Scottish to English notes, no problem. And yeah, so me personally, I know I say I took British pounds, but that's because I was in such a rush. I literally had a 1 day turnaround between my time in Canada and my time in Thailand, so I didn't have time to exchange my money or change it at the bank, so that's why I was in that situation. But personally, if I was to go again and I was to take cash, I would take it in US dollars. And the reason I say that is, like I said earlier, some of the countries deal in US dollars. We paid when we crossed both land borders, going from Thailand into Cambodia and then from Vietnam into Laos, both we paid in US dollars. So it's good to have it, even if you really don't want to deal in cash. Obviously you have to pay things like borders in cash, but if you don't want to deal in cash, I would just always recommend having a kind of $20-30 emergency pot, just in case anything happens. You know that US dollars are going to be accepted more widely than other currencies. And then other things, like we were at a hostel in Hanoi in Vietnam, we paid that in US dollars. So it's widely accepted and it's one of the easiest currencies to convert. And I would just say it's easy. For me, I just feel like it was easier for me to think about the trip in terms of dollars, because instead of converting something from pounds to dollars, to put that to dong, to put that to kia, I was just like, so I just thought of everything in US dollars, and that's just the way I personally done it. Plus a lot of the time it's easier. So for example, when I moved into South Korea, the exchange rate is a little bit more complicated when you're converting everything from a pound to a dollar, a pound to one. But when I'm converting everything from a dollar to one, I just need to multiply everything by 1,000 or divide it, and then it's much easier for me to come up with what something's costing. So that's just my personal advice. I would just take US dollars with me if I were you. With all that being said, if you are only going to one country, then I would just take pounds, or you can obviously go into travel agents and things like that beforehand. But the one of the most important points, I think, is if you are going to one of these countries, you really often have to order the currency in advance. Even for places like Canada, you often have to order in advance. So if you have a trip planned, make sure you go into a travel agent or whatever like a week before, 2 weeks before if you're me and like a overthinking and worrier, just to make sure you have the cash in your hand before you head off, because it can take up to a week sometimes for the turnaround. When it comes to taking cash versus taking card, before you even talk about kind of what kind of card you're taking, it's all up to your kind of personal comfort level and how much cash you feel comfortable having on your person. Me, I really don't like carrying cash. Like I said earlier, I always have, when I'm traveling, a kind of emergency pot just in case of anything going wrong, which if you're on holiday, inevitably something's going to go wrong, whether it be you lose your passport, not your passport, oh god, touch wood. If you lose your wallet, if something gets stolen, just in case, just enough to tide you over until such times as you can get a new card sent out to you or something like that. But obviously, if you are a person that carries cash around in your wallet and you deal with cash all the time, then you might feel more comfortable doing that. The other thing about cash is it's a lot easier to hold yourself accountable for what you're spending when you physically have the cash in your hands and you can sit and count it. But then again, if you are staying in hostels and things like that and there's communal spaces and you're counting money in public, I don't know, it just makes me very nervous and like paranoid, and I just don't like to feel like that. So personally, I never have like any more than 150 £200 on my person. What I'll do is I will take cash with me. My kind of rule of thumb is I'll take maybe £250 £300 cash when I'm going. Whether it be in pounds or whether it be in dollars, it's entirely up to you, obviously. And then from there, I will just withdraw money as I need it, and I'll keep an eye on the exchange rates and things like that so that I can withdraw cash at a kind of optimum time so that I'm not losing out on money if it's not necessary. And it makes budgeting and things like that easier if something takes a dip or something takes a rise, and you can kind of plan in advance. So that's my personal feelings. I just think it's a lot safer to not have cash on you, but obviously it's entirely up to you. When it comes to the types of cards, you can use your own bank card, which is probably the most convenient if I'm being perfectly honest, but then it's probably the most expensive because the banks have their own conversion rate. They charge you a transaction fee and an international fee, and then you get charged a withdrawal fee at every single ATM I've ever used in East Asia. I would say it's probably a fiver or £5. Yeah, I think it, especially in places like Bali and Thailand, it's like around about a fiver. So that's just the ATM's own fee. Then you get charged an international fee from your bank. Then you get charged the conversion fee, and it can often add up to like 12, 15, £20 sometimes. I'm with the Bank of Scotland, so pretty lucky in terms of exchange rates and things like that and charges. But my boyfriend at the time who I went travelling with, did you see me struggling there how to say it? I don't know what to say. He was with Lloyd's, I think, and he got charged maybe like 1.5 times to 2 times as much as I did in terms of fees. So even things like that, when we did go away, there was one year I think we might have lost a card and we ended up having to use our bank cards. We used my bank card obviously because his would have cost us more money and that would have made a bigger dent in our budget. There are tons of prepaid credit cards you can use. So I think the post office has one. I've used the Ramsden's one a few times. Ramsden's is great if you're travelling in Europe because obviously, like I said earlier, if you're going to Eastern Europe then that's a different story. But if you're actually just staying in kind of Western Central Europe and you're going to use the euro, Ramsden's have great deals. The only thing is I think now you have to upload about £500 worth of currency. So it's only good if you're either going to be spending a lot of money or you're going with a family or you're going for a long time, things like that. They also have a US dollar one, which is of course great if you're going to the States. And I would also say like things like that, if you're going to be paying by card and things, it might be a better idea to look into uploading the fee for the card onto that, because I do believe for the Ramsden's cards there's not a transaction fee. Like every time you use your chip and pin there's no conversion fee because the money's already on the card in US dollars. And I think they have a standard $1.50 withdrawal fee with no conversion rates or anything like that, and then a standard euro 50 or maybe €2. It's probably €2 to make it kind of the same amount of money. A standard fee for that as well. So just like a little side note, if you're thinking about Europe or America, that might be something to think about. I will just say as well that if you are planning on going and using a card instead of taking cash with you, it's important to be mindful of exactly where in these countries you're going. So for example, when we were in China, we stopped in Beijing, obviously a super city. There was ATMs everywhere. We could pay by card very easily. And then we went to Shanghai a little bit later. Do you like my Christmas pyjamas? I'm like a catfish. but we went to Zhangjiajie, which is a national forest park, and between Beijing and Shanghai, it was out in the sticks. There's two kind of areas in Zhangjiajie. There's the kind of tourist area, and then the place that the more local people, like Chinese people, go to visit. And I don't know how we managed it, but we ended up in the place where it was all locals, so there wasn't really a lot of ATMs and things like that. So we paid for a cable car in cash, and then we got to the top and we thought we could kind of go up and come back down on the same ride, but we had to get off, and then the ticket machines at the top didn't accept cards, so we had to actually walk down the mountain, which was fine. Like, at least we didn't have to walk up it, and it was really cool experience. But yeah, if you're going to be out in the middle of nowhere, whether you're like trekking in Sapa, things like that, some of the islands are a little bit more remote, although if they're like really touristy, then they will have ATMs and things like that. But another example is Bagan. In Myanmar, we stayed in Old Bagan, so it was all kind of like dirt roads, temples, not a lot of anything, to be honest. And we couldn't pay card for anything, so we had to have Kia on our person. So it's just important to be mindful. If you don't feel comfortable carrying a lot of cash, then just before you head to that place from a city, just look up restaurant menus and things like that. Obviously have enough money to pay for your hotel, hostel, whatever. If you're going to be taking public transport, look up prices of that. Food, think about if you're going to be going out, and just take enough cash for that period of time, and then just deal in card when you get back to a busier place again. But I do think it's important to point that out, because I've been stuck in a pickle before, and it's really not a good feeling to think, how am I going to pay for this, or how am I going to get myself out of this situation, because I don't have any money. And there's nothing more unnerving than feeling kind of trapped or stuck or uneasy in a country where you can't speak the language, and often there's nobody really to ask any questions. So just think about that before you don't carry cash with you at all. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is the kind of specific prepaid travel cards that you can order online. So obviously I talked about the Ramsden's ones. They have a Euro one and a US dollar one. But if you are going to somewhere like Southeast Asia, well, you can use those, because I think they might be Visas. No, they're MasterCards, I'm telling a lie. Well, you can use them. You will get charged international transaction fees because you're not withdrawing in dollars or euros. So you can get things called prepaid travel cards that have worldwide currency. So the first time I went to Asia, I think we went to 9 different countries, so we were dealing in 9 different currencies, and we used the FairFX prepaid travel card. So I'm actually going to leave a link to this travel card in the description box, because I don't want to just be like rhyming off percentages and things like that. But basically, if you are going to be getting a prepaid travel card, I think the post office do one here, but I'm not sure if it's a worldwide one. The reason you have to specify and get a worldwide one is so that you can preload different currencies onto it and withdraw in any currency, basically. So the FairFX is the one that I used. We didn't have any problems with it. We uploaded our money just as and when we needed it, and it's good because you can kind of keep an eye on the exchange rate. So for example, let's say we were in Singapore and the exchange rate wasn't doing very well, we would upload a kind of lesser amount of money so that we didn't get stung and more money be taken out of our budget. And then maybe a week later it was a better exchange rate, so we would upload more money and then just withdraw more money in a different place. There's plenty of tools and things like that online. I used Money Saving Expert, so I'll leave a link to that as well below. But just have a shop around. I definitely do think it's better to use a prepaid travel card than to use your own bank card. But I would always just take my bank card just in case, and obviously you need your card to load the money from that account onto the travel card. The good thing about having a bank card and a separate travel card is if you lose one or the other, you've kind of got a backup for yourself, and that's why I think it's important as well to upload your money to the travel card in increments. Because say you have a £2,000 budget, you put £250 instalments onto the travel card and you'll lose it, but you'll still have £750 left, say, in your bank account, so you're kind of good. You haven't leave enough money in your bank account so that if you do lose it, it does get stolen, that you have enough time to get a new one shipped out to a hotel or wherever you're staying. I think that's kind of it. Like I said earlier, I filmed this video yesterday and it didn't go so well, but I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise because I actually asked my mum and James, who have both never been to Asia, kind of questions they would have if they were looking at a video like this. So I hope I've answered their questions. I'm sure they'll not be slow and let me know if I have or not. And I hope I've answered your questions, but if you have anything else you'd like to know, I know I'm a little bit rambly and I get a little bit distracted, so if I didn't mention anything or you're a little bit unsure about anything I said, just ask in the comments and I'll answer as soon as I can. And that goes for anything I say in any of my videos, especially these more informative ones where I'm talking a lot of numbers, especially in this one, and about a lot of different currencies and I'm using different words. So if there's anything you don't understand, please just ask, because that's the whole point in me doing these videos, is to help somebody. So I hope you enjoyed this. And just the last thing I want to say is I reached like 70 subscribers today, and I know that's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but for me it's like a really big deal, and I'm like really trying to build my following up, kind of in anticipation for the things I'm doing later this year and next year. So I think I might film a kind of sit down, maybe I'll just do like a get ready with me thing and talk about my kind of travel plans for the year, why I'm moving to Korea, things like that, just like more details of the job and things like that. So if you have any questions about that, ask me, so then I can talk about it, I guess. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week with my vlog.